Seminar Series Environments That Transform, Part 1, The Architecture of Transformation. Before we begin, let us acknowledge the truth at the center of all transformation. It does not arrive by accident. It is built, constructed, lived into. Just as a seed needs soil, so too does the human spirit need a setting in which to expand, to struggle, to break open. This seminar is not about quick tips or inspiration. It is about the deliberate engineering of conditions that cause real growth. Environments are not just physical. They include conceptual, emotional, internal, and tool-based ecosystems. Why this seminar matters. In our fragmented world, everyone wants results, revenue, reach, recognition. But few stop to ask, what am I growing inside of? What is the environment I'm submitting myself to? This series will explore 10 powerful themes rooted in lived conversation, spiritual guidance, rigorous business analysis, and real operator experience. It will take us through the disciplines of strategic design, diagnostic logic, energy work, apprenticeship, sales systems, and the metaphysics of action. But we begin here with a framework. Environments are the seedbed of transformation. The first law, you live what you build. Transformation is not about making a decision one day and watching life change the next. It is about shaping the conditions that compel you to evolve. That's why systems matter. That's why checklists matter. That's why diagnostic forms, coaching frameworks, and Google Sheets, even the humble drop-down menu, matter. They are environments that mold the mind and body through repetition and structure. If you live in these environments, when it finally connects to your nervous system, when it finally connects to your neurology, then transformation occurs, and that's pretty profound. Santi Chacon. This is not just metaphor. Neuroscience backs it. It takes time for the nervous system to adjust to new rhythms. A business is not just a strategy, it's a stimulus. And over time, your system adapts to the input you choose to surround yourself with. The quiet power of embedded systems. Major consulting firms like McKinsey and Bain don't sell you inspiration. They sell you frameworks. Why? Because frameworks shape perception, decision-making, and behavior. When systems are embedded in daily practice, they become the invisible environment that upgrades performance. It's why MISI, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, is a foundational concept. It forces clarity. It's why structured CRM tools change behavior more than a motivational talk ever could. Because structure speaks louder than advice. This is the key. Your environment is louder than your intention. The pastor's kid principle, misaligned environments. A powerful metaphor raised in this seminar is the rebellious pastor's child. They grow up surrounded by one type of environment, religious, moral, structured, but their real environment, the one they're loyal to, is internal, peer-based, or oppositional. This reveals a crucial diagnostic. It's not where you are that determines your growth. It's where your loyalty lives. You can sit in a coaching call every week and not change. You can be enrolled in a program and not evolve. The question is, what environment are you actually committed to? Spiritual parallels, Saturn and the soil of discipline. In spiritual terms, this is Saturn energy. Saturn is structure. It is not just the planet of limits, it is the master of rhythm. In a world chasing Mars-style momentum, impulse, reaction, urgency, Saturn builds cathedrals, slowly, brick by brick. To invoke Saturn is to choose slowness, order, mastery, and to let those become your atmosphere. You're not being held back. You're being buried in the right soil so that when you rise, your roots are deep enough to carry you. Call to action, move in. If you want to change, don't start with your goal. Start with your surroundings. Ask, what structures govern my day? What tools guide my decision-making? What rhythms does my nervous system obey? Then ask, what would it take for me to live inside the system I want to become? Because that's what this is about. This seminar isn't a motivational talk. It's a blueprint for construction. We are not here to feel inspired. We are here to build new environments, so transformation is inevitable. Next, part tools as environments, living inside the system. In the next section, we'll go deeper into how diagnostic tools, forms, and logic maps create new identities, not through affirmation, but through use. Part 2, tools as environments, living inside the system. Tools, frameworks, systems aren't neutral. They are living environments. Let's make this plain. The tools you use are not just passive objects. They are architectures of influence. Every system you touch, every form you fill, every structure you revisit is shaping who you are, how you think, and what you're becoming. Tools, when designed with intention, don't just capture information, they rewire identity. The form as a home. Let's revisit what Santi revealed. That form for you is an environment too. If you just live through that, that is an environment for your transformation. This is a fundamental shift from how most people use tools. Most people treat tools as accessories, something to use when needed, like a hammer in a drawer. But what Santi is proposing is different. The form isn't just a hammer, it's the house you're building and living in at the same time. You don't visit the form, you move in. That's why structured tools like framework, coaching protocols, or business diagnostic maps must be designed and inhabited. They are psychological architecture, mental ergonomics, spiritual scaffolding. Top-tier consulting firms didn't get rich on charisma. They built logic maps. Let's take Mies again. Mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, as a prime example. This logic isn't just a nice idea, it's a structure of thought. It's a demand for mental discipline, a system that filters information and forces clarity. Using these methods will allow you to sort out a company very quickly without overlap. You're going to the bucket that contains the answer. This is surgical precision. Imagine your brain sorting through a client's chaos with clean labeled containers. That's not just effective, that's transformational, because over time, the tool begins to shape how you think about everything. Industry insight, embedded thinking tools and practice. In the world of product design, project management, and diagnostics, there's a rising understanding that tools are more than utilities. They are decision environments. Frameworks like the business model canvas, SWOT analysis, agile boards, Kanban Scrum, strategic roadmaps, customer journey maps. All of these are environments. They are engineered logic systems that force clarity and action. That's why every serious business embeds these into their operating rhythm. And when done right, the business becomes fluent in that logic. It becomes the native language. A living environment changes the user. You're not just filling out a coaching intake sheet, you're stepping into a diagnostic mirror. If you do it weekly, and if it evolves with you, it's no longer a template. It's a living dialogue, a reflection tool, a thinking companion. This is what Santi has built with his coaching and advisory frameworks. It's not just documentation, it's behavior design. Santi's coaching form, profiling the present. Santi breaks it down. Before you engage in strategy, I become a student of presence. How would you describe the client's emotional state? From speech pacing to micro signals, his tool doesn't just collect answers, it forces attention. It retrains the practitioner to observe, empathize, decode, and then act. This is the brilliance of well-built systems. They change the user first, so the user can then change the world around them. And because the structure is revisited, call after call, week after week, the tool becomes the environment, and the environment becomes the rhythm, and then it becomes the person. Why most people don't transform? Because they treat tools like boxes to check, not systems to live in. They download a worksheet, use it once, and wonder why nothing changed. But real tools aren't one-time actions. They're sustained environments. They are immersive, repetitive, ritualistic. Live in the tool, breathe through it, let it organize your nervous system. The difference between noise and transformation? Cadence, structure, re-entry. Application, ask yourself these questions. 1. What tools do I revisit every day or every week? 2. Are my tools just informational or do they structure how I think? 3. Have I built a system that is capable of changing me over time? 4. Do I return to Intuit, reflect inside it, and refine it with each iteration? If the answer is no, you're not living in a tool. You're renting a template. Time to build a house. Closing charge, build your ritual. Pick one system, just one. A daily planning form, a diagnostic map, a coaching framework, a project tracker, then commit to it. Live in it, sleep in it, argue with it, but don't abandon it, because if you live inside the right system long enough, it will eventually live inside you. Next, part 3, rigor and observation, training the inner consultant. We will now dive into the art of business analysis, client listening, and real-time critical thinking. Seminar Series, Environments That Transform. Part 3, Rigor and Observation, Training the Inner Consultant. Business growth demands observation-based frameworks and structured critical thinking. In a world flooded with advice, speed, and noise, the real power belongs to those who can listen clearly, process chaos, and respond with structure. This is not guesswork, it is rigor. This is the skill of transforming noise into signal, questions into clarity, complaints into insight. Today, we train the inner consultant. The scene. First contact with chaos. Picture this. A business owner calls. Their voice is tense. They're losing money. Their systems are breaking down. They want help. But their explanation is a flood of disconnected fragments. Sales are down. The staff is overwhelmed. We haven't changed our process in 5 years. Something just feels off. What most people hear is stress. What you, as a trained consultant, must hear is data. The fire hose is real, but the fire hose is also gold if you know how to sort it. Step 1, the brain dump. This is the ritualized first step in Santi's methodology. You don't respond, you don't react, you dump. You gather every word, every point, every offhand comment, and you sort it into rough categories. You don't analyze yet, you just collect. Santi compares this to sorting stacks of paper into labeled piles. Pile 1, pile 2, pile 3. Information floating, just parsing out information into categories. That's what you do. Santi Chacon. This isn't just data capture, it's a mental sorting mechanism. It's the beginning of order. Step 2, summarize and reflect back. Once the client has unloaded, you summarize their story back to them, clearly, neutrally, and without distortion. So what I'm hearing is, you're a mid-size hotel, profits declined 15% over 2 years, competition is increasing, and your systems are outdated. This step does 2 things. 1, it verifies the data. Yes, that's what I meant, or no, let me clarify. 2, it earns trust. The client knows they were heard. You give it back so they can say, no, that's not it, or yes, that's exactly it, so that you have the appropriate information in your meeting. Santi Chacon. This is how you turn chaos into accuracy. Step 3, ask for the core objective. Once the mess is sorted and clarified, the consultant shifts the conversation. What do you actually want? What outcome are you looking for? You've given me the background. What's the goal? This single moment is transformative. It reframes the relationship from passive venting to strategic clarity. You have to ask, what is it you want? What is the outcome you're looking for me to do? Santi Chacon. This step forces specificity. It draws a line between the noise and the real problem. It activates direction. Step 4, form your initial hypothesis. At this point, you've done what most people never do. You've organized the chaos, verified the information, defined the objective. Now you form your first hypothesis. This is your tentative answer, your initial theory. Not the final solution, but a direction to investigate. This is what separates operators from spectators. Based on the information you got, immediately you're creating your first hypothesis, and then you're going to test against that. It's done early. Santi Chacon. This early hypothesis gives you focus, momentum, a place to begin. You're no longer reacting, you're executing. Now, let's bridge into global consulting standards. The MEIS model, mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive, is the global gold standard for structured thinking. Santi explains it like this. Think of sorting laundry. A red sock can only go in one pile, the colors pile. It cannot be in the whites and colors pile at the same time. That this perfect sorting prevents you from ruining your clothes. The metaphor is brilliant. Business chaos is like mixed laundry. If you don't sort properly, you waste time, blur data, and ruin your conclusions. But with MEIS, each issue gets one clean bucket. No double counting, no missed gaps. This logic is efficiency embodied. It's how elite consultants solve problems in 1/10 the time, because they structure their thinking from the beginning. Why rigor is rare. Let's be honest, most people don't take the time to structure their thinking. They don't have systems. They don't even have forms. They listen, then respond with emotion or anecdote, and that's why they stay overwhelmed. But when you ritualize rigor, when you create steps, categories, and summaries, you start to operate from clarity. Your client trusts you. Your work becomes repeatable. Your thinking becomes powerful. And over time, you become the tool. The inner consultant checklist. Ask yourself, do I start every engagement with a structured brain dump? Do I reflect what I heard back to the client word for word? Do I demand a clear objective before proposing action? Do I form and test early hypotheses? Do I separate every issue into clean, misaligned categories? If you said no to any of these, you've just found your next environment for transformation. Next, part 4, the narrative lens, tension, story, and influence. In the next segment, we shift from logic to story. We'll explore how every client and every consultant is living inside a narrative and how transformation happens by locating where the tension lives. Part 4, the narrative lens, tension, story, and influence. Every client and consultant is living inside a story. Knowing where tension lives helps drive influence and transformation. Business isn't just operations, it's not just finance, it's not just logic, it's narrative. Every decision, every hesitation, every investment comes from a story someone is telling themselves. And inside that story, there is tension. To influence someone, to guide someone, to transform someone, you must find the tension. That's the lever. That's the pressure point. That's the moment the story cracks open and something new becomes possible. The story they're living versus the one they tell. In a call, a client may say, "We're just behind on our systems. We're not clear on our direction. Our team isn't aligned." But those are surface symptoms. Beneath the surface, something deeper is always happening. Fear, doubt, imposter syndrome, capability tension, refusal of the call. Santi puts it clearly. This is a point of influence. When I can break down your narrative, I could start to understand where you feel the tension. This is sacred ground. Once you can locate tension in the story, you are now a transformational advisor. You're not solving surface problems, you're shifting identity. The three-layer narrative diagnostic. Santi's layered narrative system operates across three powerful lenses. 1, tension, within the 8 story elements. Where does the tension live? In the vision, unclear purpose, in the capability, lack of belief and skill, in the supporting cast, lack of partnership, in the stakes, uncertainty of consequence. In Benedict's case, Santi identified, your tension here stems from perceived limitations in skills or inherent qualities, capability tension. That is a precise diagnosis. And once it's identified, the advisor can speak directly to it. 2, tension within the hero's journey. Every client is on their hero's journey. The question is, where are they stuck? Is it the refusal of the call, avoiding change, the crossing of the threshold, taking risk, the ordeal, enduring challenge, the return with the elixir, delivering value? Santi to Benedict, this is what you felt before. You recognized this tension. You had resistance. So your tension was in the refusal of the call. This isn't just emotional awareness, it's strategic insight. Once you know where they're stuck in the cycle, you know what kind of language, tool, or support to provide. Layered influence through language. When you know the narrative tension, you don't just solve the problem, you frame it in a way that resonates with their identity. If they're stuck in capability tension, you don't just talk about tools, you talk about growth. You show how mastering the tool makes them a different kind of leader. If they're thinking about making a difference and you're talking about policy, you're not speaking to their story. Instead, you say, this policy will help you make the impact you said you were born to make. If we get this system right, you become the kind of operator you imagined when you first dreamed this. That's leverage. Industry insights, storytelling as influence architecture. Top-tier branding firms, elite sales consultants, and transformational leaders all do one thing extremely well. They know the narrative their client is living in. Why do ads that say, be the hero work? Because everyone wants to believe they're stepping into something meaningful. Whether it's Donald Miller's story brand framework or McKinsey's problem-solving logic, there's always a narrative layer. The most influential advisors don't sell solutions. They sell narrative upgrades. Real application. Map the narrative before you solve the problem. When a client calls you, 1, start with their words. 2, dig into where the real tension is. 3, determine what stage of the journey they're in. 4, Align your language to the story they want to live. This is spiritual work. This is psychological precision. This is business at the level of meaning. Reflection questions. Are you a narrative diagnostician? Ask yourself, can I name the tension my client is experiencing in narrative terms? Do I know what part of the hero's journey they're currently inhabiting? Do I communicate solutions in a way that honors their identity? If not, you're missing the most powerful lever you have as a strategist, story-based influence. Build their story, not just their system. If you want to truly shift someone's trajectory, don't just give them a better tool. Give them a more powerful story to step into. Don't just help them fix a problem. Help them understand what kind of person they are becoming through the fixing. That's what it means to influence with narrative tension. That's what it means to serve transformation at the root. Next, part 5, Saturn and the discipline of construction. In the next session, we explore the mythic force of Saturn, why systems require structure, why commitment requires time, and how to build environments that demand transformation through spiritual rigor. Seminar Series, Environments That Transform, Part 5, Saturn and the Discipline of Construction. Saturn is the energy of structure, systems, and spiritual rigor. There is a force in the universe that doesn't rush. It doesn't sell hype. It doesn't reward impulsive declarations or short attention spans. It waits and it watches. And when it moves slowly, heavily, with gravity, it builds kingdoms that last. That force is Saturn. And if you want to build something that doesn't fall apart at the first sign of pressure, you will have to learn how to work with it. The Saturnian Path, no glory without grit. We live in a culture obsessed with Mars. Fast moves, hot takes, quick wins, crush it mantras. Mars is momentum, but Saturn is structure. Saturn is timing. Saturn is restraint. Santi put it this way. I think that's what Saturn's transformation is about, building your environment. And when you do something, you live in it. You don't put it away. You don't quit. You adjust it. You commit. This is where real builders get separated from dreamers, because building isn't just about having vision, it's about staying with it when it gets slow, heavy, or boring. Industry parallels, long-termism, and operational endurance. Great businesses don't just pop. They layer, they iterate, they evolve on top of what they've already built. Amazon didn't start with AWS, Toyota didn't scale in a year. The best companies build environments that teach people how to work, improve, and think over decades. This is Saturn's influence in business: routine, review, feedback loops, discipline, accountability. Saturn doesn't trust your intentions, it watches your rituals. Time pressure, identity. Let's take it deeper. Saturn doesn't just change your habits, it transforms who you are. It takes your nervous system time to absorb the environment. It takes your brain time to adjust, like a good vitamin, Santi Chacon. You can't just write a mission statement and expect your team to follow it. You have to live it, repeatedly, slowly, publicly. You need systems that push your mind, shape your speech, and correct your actions. Over time, this repetition becomes you. You don't use the system. You become the system. Ritual versus routine, what Saturn demands. Routine is what you do. Ritual is how you do it. Saturn demands both. If you check in with your team every Monday, but it's rushed, distracted, and pointless, that's not Saturn, that's noise. If your coaching framework exists, but no one follows it, Saturn isn't in the building. To harness Saturn, you must, 1, commit to structured processes. 2, refine them over time. 3, let them reshape your inner rhythm. That's how you become trustworthy, durable, worthy of scale. Spiritual insight, the gatekeeper effect. Why does Saturn take so long? Because it is protecting you from yourself. It allows us a little bit of a gatekeeper, so things don't get absorbed too quickly through stress. That's not good. Santi Chacon. There's a mercy in delay. Sometimes the reason your system isn't scaling is because you're not yet strong enough to hold it. Saturn delays you until your bones are ready, until your infrastructure won't collapse, until your environment is not only built, but capable of building others. The Saturn checklist. Are you building for time? Ask yourself, do I have a rhythm for reviewing and adjusting my systems? Is my environment designed to evolve slowly and sustainably? Am I living inside a structure that teaches me something every week? When things get boring, do I quit or refine? If you want Saturn's blessing, you must build for time. Santi's example, environment as ergonomics. It becomes your kitchen sink. It becomes your fridge. You live in it. Then you can adjust it accordingly. It's like ergonomics. Santi Chakan. Think about that metaphor. When you first move into a house, everything feels foreign. But over time, your body remembers where things are. That's what you're building in your systems, muscle memory for execution. The form isn't something you fill out. It's your kitchen counter. It's your favorite chair. It fits you. That's Saturn. Closing charge, commit past the point of glamour. Everyone wants the glory. Few want the grit. Everyone wants transformation. Few want to build the environment that demands it. If you want to master your work, stop chasing new frameworks. Start mastering the old ones, over and over and over. Next, part 6, trust economies, building with character, not just code. In the next segment, we shift from discipline to connection. In a world where infrastructure is weak and credit systems are informal, trust becomes the currency. Let's explore how to build a business and partnerships on character, consistency, and truth. Here is part 6 of 10 of your seminar series. Seminar series, Environments That Transform, part 6, Trust Economies, building with character, not just code. When the system is weak, your character becomes the infrastructure. In many parts of the world, the formal systems are brittle. There's no reliable financing, no predictable legal protection, no institutional guarantee. So how do businesses survive? They don't run on code. They run on character. They run on promises that are kept, on reputations that are earned, on a trust economy where your word is more valuable than your balance sheet. Let's talk about what it takes to build in that kind of world. What is a trust economy? A trust economy is an informal system where the strength of your reputation is the primary currency. You don't have contracts, you have agreements. You don't have investors, you have believers. You don't have systems, you have people who show up because of who you are. The only thing that's going to build this is character and consistency, nothing else. There's no system strong enough to carry it. Santi Chacon. This is not soft. This is not spiritual fluff. It's real business. It's how communities scale without capital. It's how informal networks survive corruption, scarcity, and volatility. And it's how you train a generation of operators to lead by who they are, not just what they sell. Case study, the village operator. In Nigeria, in Latin America, in parts of Asia, systems are weak, but you'll still find operators who get referrals without ads, retain clients without contracts, launch projects without funding. Why? Because they have spent years building a name. They show up early. They deliver more than they promise. They own their mistakes. They make people feel safe. That's the trust economy in action, and it works where code and legal paperwork fail. Here's the secret most SaaS founders don't realize. Trust scales faster than code if it's rooted in consistent behavior. When people trust you, they speak on your behalf, they defend your name, they recruit others for you, they build for you without asking for equity. That's exponential, and it's rooted in something deeper than product market fit. It's built on values market fit. You're not hiring skill, you're hiring a belief system. You're hiring a posture. Santi Chacon. The 3 pillars of trust infrastructure. If you want to build a durable trust economy around your brand or business, you need to master 3 things. 1, predictability. People need to know what to expect from you every time. Show up on time, follow through, like make your behavior boring in the best way. 2, transparency. When things go wrong, say so, own the delay, reveal the weakness, invite correction. Trust doesn't die from failure, it dies from denial. 3, principle-based action. Operate from values, not vibes. Have a code. State your rules. Enforce your standards. People won't always like you, but they'll know where you stand. And that's enough to build a reputation. Santi's message to emerging leaders. Most of you won't scale because you're looking for the wrong currency. You think money is the system. It's not. Your posture is, Santi Chacon. In environments where infrastructure is unreliable, Your personal structure becomes the business's backbone. Your presence becomes the protocol. Your consistency becomes the contract. And that's not just noble, it's effective. Biblical insight: Joseph in Egypt. In Genesis 41, Joseph rises to power not because of wealth, but because of trust. Pharaoh doesn't know Joseph. There is no resume, no network. But Joseph interprets the dream, and Pharaoh says, "Since God has made all this known to you, there is no one so discerning and wise as you. You shall be in charge of my palace." Genesis 41:39 to 40. Joseph's character became the infrastructure. In famine, he was the system. This is what it means to build a trust economy. You become the environment that people can rely on when nothing else works. Where does my power come from? Ask yourself, do people trust my presence even when the system is unstable? Can I keep a business relationship alive without tech, contracts, or scale? Is my leadership rooted in principle, not performance? If not, you're building on sand. Closing charge: build your inner infrastructure. If you want to lead in a volatile world, you must become someone who is trusted without asking for it. Say less, do more, deliver early, own your shadow, cultivate presence that becomes infrastructure. That's how you build companies from dust. That's how you scale communities when there's no map. That's how you become the system. Next, part 7, coaching structures, the 5 levels of engagement. Next, we dive into the layered coaching architecture. From student to executor to creator, we explore how to move people through levels of alignment using conversation, rhythm, and embedded systems. Here is part 7 of 10 of your seminar series. Seminar series Environments That Transform, part 7, coaching structures, the 5 levels of engagement. There are stages. I don't coach everyone the same. They're not ready. It's not punishment, it's calibration. Too many leaders try to give too much, too soon. They overload new recruits with strategy decks and spiritual downloads when all that person needed was a checklist and some encouragement. Then they wonder why the team drops off. If you want to build an enduring organization, especially in environments of pressure and growth, you must master calibrated coaching. This is not about information delivery. It's about knowing where someone is and what environment they need next. The 5 levels of coaching engagement. According to Santi, your relationship with a team member or partner evolves through 5 natural stages. Each one requires its own structure, tone, and approach. Let's walk through them. 1. The student, passive absorber. This is the beginner. They're wide-eyed, raw, often idealistic. They want to learn, but they're not ready to act alone. Environment needed: clear tasks, step-by-step checklists, regular feedback, encouragement. They're not ready for creative problem solving yet. You're shaping posture. Santi Chacon. Don't expect initiative. Expect questions. That's healthy. 2. The executor, reliable performer. Now they've stabilized. They follow instructions. They complete assignments. They can carry weight, but they're still dependent on structure. Environment needed: routines and rituals, weekly calls, templates and tools, light correction. They are loyal, often underconfident, and still unsure of the big picture. That's okay. 3. The reflective contributor, beginning strategist. They start asking why. They push back, offer insights, begin observing systems. This is the moment where coaching shifts from management to development. Environment needed: frameworks and mental models, exposure to higher level decisions, opportunities to lead small projects, guided narrative feedback. This is where diagnostic tools come in. They start interpreting tension. They start learning to coach themselves. Santi Chacon. 4. The creator, independent builder. This is the moment they don't just run your system, they create inside it. They build tools, codify structures, think strategically without prompt. Environment needed: ownership of outcomes, collaborative planning, quarterly vision reviews, access to your frameworks. This level is rare. When you find a creator, you start multiplying infrastructure. You're no longer alone. 5. The architect, visionary peer. This is not an employee. This is a partner. They understand your values, your frameworks, and your mission so deeply. They anticipate what needs to be built before you say it. They're few, but they build with you. Environment needed: sovereign zones, equity or revenue share, philosophical alignment, strategic solitude, and co-creation. This is where I'm giving someone the keys to the kingdom. They understand the cadence. They've earned my trust in decisions. Santi Chacon. Matching the structure to the stage. The greatest mistake a leader makes is confusing levels. If you give level 5 autonomy to a level 1 student, they drown. If you micromanage a level 4 creator, they leave. Each level demands a different coaching structure: forms versus frameworks, templates versus toolkits, supervision versus sovereignty. This is why environment design is crucial. You don't just change the content, you change the container. Biblical lens: Jesus and his disciples. Even Jesus modeled tiered coaching. Crowds received parables, level 1. Disciples received explanation, level 2. Peter, James, John saw the transfiguration, level 4. Peter was handed keys, level 5. There was no rush. He calibrated influence based on readiness. And in doing so, he built a movement. Diagnostic questions for leaders. Ask yourself, do I know what level each person on my team is in? Do I adjust my language, tools, and cadence to match that level? Am I creating an environment that moves people to the next stage? You don't need more strategy. You need better segmentation. Closing charge: lead like a builder, not a broadcaster. Stop shouting strategy at people who haven't stabilized. Stop expecting creation from those still learning execution. Build the environment that matches their readiness. Then walk with them, stage by stage, until they become a builder beside you. That's how movements grow. That's how legacy is transferred. That's how you coach in layers. Next, part 8, tool creation and business logic. In part 8, we pivot to the craft of making tools, turning observation into structure, structure into action, and action into scalable logic. You'll learn how to embed your wisdom into forms, frameworks, and rituals that work without you. Here is part 8 of 10 of your seminar series. Seminar series, Environments That Transform, part 8, Tool Creation and Business Logic. Tools aren't just for tracking, they're for transforming. You can talk to someone all day about their goals, you can motivate, inspire, uplift, and coach. But until they do the work inside a structure, it doesn't hold. That's where tools come in. Forms, dashboards, rituals, scorecards, they're not busy work. They are the containers of intelligence. They create rhythm, they prompt decisions, they surface tension, and most importantly, they allow others to move without you. In a trust economy, your word matters. In a scalable economy, your tools matter. Let's talk about the architecture of tools. A tool is a structure that holds intelligence. Too many people create documents, not tools. A document tells you something. A tool changes you. It's not just about asking questions. It's about asking them in a form that aligns the person with the business, with the logic, with the pressure. Santi Chacon. Every good tool should 1, surface misalignment, 2, trigger momentum, 3, build executive rhythm, 4, replace live coaching over time. Case study: strategic objectives form. Santi designs forms where each section begins with a metaphor, e.g., approach to land, embeds pressure, which region of the value chain are you transforming, ends with a structured reflection, define your transformation theme. That's not a worksheet, that's a thinking ritual. And when a business unit completes that form, they're not just answering, they're declaring how they will shape the world. Tool creation is leadership in code. Think of it this way: coaching is live transmission. Tools are asynchronous transmission. They let someone revisit a lesson without you repeating it, diagnose their own state, report with precision, evolve with less oversight. Eventually, your tools do the teaching, your frameworks do the reminding, and you become more powerful by being less present. Santi Chacon. This is how scale is earned. 3 categories of transformational tools. Let's break down the core categories of tools needed in a coaching-based business. 1. Alignment tools. Used to synchronize a person's internal clarity with the organization structure. Examples: purpose, mission forms, strategic objective selectors, milestone logic trees. Used when a new unit is onboarding, a partner is misaligned, you're preparing for scale. U2, diagnostic tools used to identify the source of stagnation or misalignment. Examples, narrative tension maps, capability versus capacity assessments, coaching stage diagnostics, used when a team member is underperforming, a project has stalled, a pattern of avoidance emerges. 3, performance tools, used to keep individuals and teams in rhythm and execution. Examples, weekly scorecards, pipeline trackers, call feedback sheets, ritual reports, used when accountability must increase. Scale requires operational rhythm. You want to automate coaching. Insight, a tool is a belief system in form. A form is not just structure, it's a way of seeing. It's an embedded philosophy. Santi Chacon. Every tool is a proxy for your worldview. A strong tool teaches what you value, what behavior is rewarded, what questions matter. If your tools aren't doing this, they're cosmetic. Biblical metaphor, the tablets of stone. In Exodus, God gives Moses the 10 commandments, not just as ideas, but as tablets. Why? Because tablets last. They carry the truth across generations. They shape behavior across time. They codify covenant. That's what great tools do. They don't just inform, they govern. Reflection. Are you building a toolkit or a library? Ask yourself, do my tools surface decision-making clarity? Can someone grow by simply using my tools? Have I built a system that teaches without my presence? If not, you're over-relying on charisma and coaching. Closing charge, turn your wisdom into structure. Stop giving wisdom away in untracked conversations. Start designing environments that hold it. Create the form, build the logic, add the reflection, publish the rhythm. That's how builders build when they're not in the room. That's how you convert energy into infrastructure. Next, part 9, the webinar as transformation vehicle. In the next session, we break down how to host webinars that don't just teach, but diagnose, activate, and enroll people into environments that can hold their momentum. This is narrative coaching at scale. Part 9, the webinar as a transformation vehicle. The webinar isn't a stage, it's a portal. You don't just teach, you trigger. In the age of Zoom fatigue and endless sales pitches, webinars have become white noise. But used correctly, they are rituals of transformation. A great webinar doesn't just inform, it awakens. It doesn't just convert, it repositions. And for those who design businesses that rely on character, rhythm, and environments, webinars become the doorway into the energetic ecosystem of your business. You are not hosting a call, you are opening a gate. Let's learn how. Myth of the sales webinar. Most people use webinars like lectures, a slide deck, a pitch, a Q&A, a vague call to action. This fails. It lacks diagnostic function, energetic movement, and ritual significance. It has to feel like something has happened by the end, like the world cracked open, like you can't unsee yourself. Santi Chacon. A transformation webinar shifts state. That's the difference. 3 functions of the webinar as ritual. Let's reframe what a webinar is meant to do. 1, diagnosis. You are surfacing unspoken tension. You are naming what they haven't named yet. Where in your system are you out of rhythm? What environment are you failing to build? What cadence is your business rejecting? These are not teaching points, they are mirrors. 2, energetic repositioning. The moment you speak, they feel the weight shift. From confusion to clarity, from scattered to ordered, from passive to compelled. This is not motivation. This is consequence awareness. A great webinar makes the attendee feel like inaction is dangerous. You're not trying to inspire, you're trying to reposition the self-concept. Santi Chacon. 3, invitation into environment. Finally, you extend a new world, not a product, not a program, an environment. That's the key. You're not saying buy my thing. You're saying enter a system where transformation is inevitable. Case study, the narrative webinar. One of Santi's signature formats walks participants through a mirror, narrative tension diagnostic, a map, strategic framework, a myth, archetypal energy, a mandate, decision to act. Each part has a reason, each part has pressure. This creates personal ownership, systemic clarity, community orientation. By the end, it's not about the speaker, it's about the listener's place in the environment. That's a real conversion. Industry standard: why most webinars fail. Common problems in mainstream webinars: too much talking, not enough reflection. Overstuffed teaching, no energy change. Generic offers, no architecture. Compare that to Santi's method. Built-in narrative cadence, pressure-aware rhythm. Offer is environmental entry, not information access. This isn't copywriting, it's ritual architecture. The biblical pattern, the mountaintop sermon. Jesus didn't say, join my program. He created an energetic field. Blessed are the poor in spirit. You have heard it said, but I tell you. He reframed reality. He diagnosed ego. He invited listeners into the kingdom, not just as theology, but as environmental belonging. Your webinar should do the same. Diagnose sin, misalignment, offer grace, clarity, invite movement, alignment. Reflection. Is my webinar a mirror or a megaphone? Ask yourself, am I surfacing hidden patterns? Am I creating tension that requires resolution? Am I offering entry into a structure or just selling an idea? If you're not moving people into new behavioral cadence, the webinar didn't work. Closing charge: create the room that holds the shift. You are not just teaching, you are designing an atmosphere. When you open that call, you command the environment, you guide the narrative, you convert identity, and when the call ends, the right people don't say thank you. They say, I need to live inside what I just felt. That's the power of a real webinar. That's a spiritual business funnel. Next, part 10, conclusion, becoming the environment. In the final part of our series, we gather the full architecture, from Saturn's discipline to trust-based infrastructure, tool creation, coaching structures, and diagnostic webinars, to land on the core principle: you must become the environment you want others to enter. Seminar series, Environments That Transform, part 10, conclusion, becoming the environment. Eventually, your business is not something you build, it's something you become. This entire journey, from discipline to diagnosis, from trust economies to webinars, has led to one truth. You are the environment, not the website, not the funnel, not the platform. You. If the business is unstable, you're unstable. If the team is disorganized, you're disorganized. If the product lacks conviction, you've diluted your own fire. Let's stop pretending otherwise. This is the final pivot, where we move from tools, forms, rituals, and rhythms into the core truth that your internal cadence becomes your external system. You don't just build culture, you embody it. There's no spreadsheet that can save a weak founder. There's no roadmap that works for someone who doesn't walk it. If you don't have inner governance, no amount of outer structure will hold. This isn't about performance, it's about spiritual engineering. Can you become so disciplined, so tuned, so aware that your presence trains others just by existing? That's what it means to become revisiting the Saturn framework. Let's come full circle. When we invoked Saturn at the beginning, we weren't being poetic. We were pointing at a law of reality. Saturn demands time. Saturn demands integrity. Saturn delays success to see if you're real. Most of your competitors don't survive because they're built on Mars: force, hustle, reaction. You build on Saturn: cadence, consequence, design. Saturn doesn't block your path, he teaches you to build one. Santi check. The true system is you. Yes, use the tools. Yes, create diagnostic forms. Yes, run the webinar and track the KPIs. But know this: those things only work because you work. You stay steady when others scatter. You walk when others panic. You refine when others blame. Biblical parallel, the tabernacle within. In Exodus 25:8, God says, "Then have them make a sanctuary for me, and I will dwell among them." But by the New Testament, something shifts. Paul writes, "Do you not know that your bodies are temples of the Holy Spirit?" 1 Cor 6:19. The environment is no longer physical. It's embodied. That's you. You are the temple. You are the system. You are the infrastructure of transformation. Act accordingly. Final reflections, a mirror and a mandate. Let these questions ring out as the final mirror. Am I stable enough to lead in chaos? Do I design my life with the same rigor I demand from my team? Have I earned the right to govern? Do my rhythms reflect a truth deeper than my mood? If the answer is no, don't panic. Start becoming. Start practicing. Start building the environment within. The 10 pillars we built together. Let's briefly recap the full arc. 1. Introduction. Why environments, not motivation, drive transformation. 2. The Saturn principle. Discipline, time, and consequence as the root of all enduring growth. 3. Tension as compass, diagnosing where tension lives to identify what must evolve. 4. Momentum infrastructure, designing cadence and execution structures that compel consistency. 5. Trust economies, leading with reputation, not reliance on formal systems. 6. Layered coaching structures, calibrating leadership based on someone's stage of growth. 7. Tool creation and business logic, making scalable rituals that replace your presence. 8. The transformational webinar, designing energetic portals, not just sales funnels. 9. Diagnostic environments, turning your business into a place where self-awareness and responsibility are default. 10. Becoming the environment, walking your truth so powerfully that others enter your world, not your product. Final charge, walk out the architecture. You are no longer allowed to claim ignorance. You've seen the system, you've walked the terrain, you've felt the rhythm. Now it's time to speak less, build more, judge by rhythm, not hype, serve by design, not noise, lead by becoming the thing your clients are chasing. Eventually you become the thing they were hoping to buy, Santi Chacon. That's how you shift history. That's how you scale truth. That's how you build environments that transform. Now walk it out.